You may have noticed I'm filming in an extremely windy building site, but that won't stop me making a fucking video this week, even if it is like 4 hours from the end of the week. Anyway, oh Jesus, I'm freezing. Anyway, I've been browsing through this website recently, and I've decided to make a video on the Beatles' trips to Hamburg. So after stealing a harmonica and auditioning some bloke they didn't even know as the drummer, the Beatles, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, Stuart Sutcliffe and Pete Best arrived in Hamburg for the first time. They played their first gig on August 19th at the Indra Club and stayed there till October 3rd. October 4th to November 28th, they played at the Kaiserkeller before George got deported for being too young to work. He was being, illegally slaved as a child. Actually, he wasn't even a slave, he was being paid £3 a day, fucking riches. And then, out of sheer utter anger, Pete and Paul lit a condom on fire, and then they got sent out of the country by the police as well. That left John there on his own, while Stu went off and shagged some German bird. Also, an important moment on their first trip, they came to Hamburg in these lilac suits. And then they said, you know what, fuck that, that's stupid, because George bought a leather jacket off some waiter, found out where they got it, bought it for £4 by the way, because, star life, bought it for £4 off some waiter, then they asked him where he got it, they all got leather jackets, for the rest of their fucking lives in Hamburg, they're all cowboys, rootin' suiting, leather booting, great. So what they did is they got the old lilac jackets, they just chucked them away, like that. And that was their first day. After roaming the desolate wastelands of the north for about 6 months, the Beatles made a triumphant return to Hamburg on April Fool's Day 1961, where they remained to July 1st at the Top 10 Club. Here, they played for 503 hours, and during this visit they also recorded all that jazz with Tony Sheridan, My Bonnie, Take Out Some Insurance on Me, etc, etc. After this, Stuart Sutcliffe left the band so he could paint and continue to shag that German bird. The Beatles would not return to Hamburg until April 13th, 1962, when they would begin their residence at the hottest new club, the Star Club. They had 1 day off the whole time they were there, which was April 20th, and they continued playing there till May 31st. This was their first tour of Hamburg. It's not a tour, they went to one place. They literally went to one club for 91 nights. Nah. This was their first residency in Hamburg, sans Stuart Sutcliffe, because he died 2 days before they went. It must have been pretty depressing, but you wouldn't have thought that, because on the first performance there, John Lennon himself, the absolute madman, came onto the stage, dressed as a cleaning lady, walking like a spastic. He knocks over all the microphones, he knocks over half the drum kit, then he picks it all up, starts wiping it, cleans under George's armpit, cleans under Paul's armpit. It was mental. It was absolutely mental. I didn't really record anything, but I will tell you what, this was their last proper pre-fame, period. Period blood. Because 2 days after coming back to Liverpool from this Hamburg trip, they recorded Love Me Do. So that's mental how quick that progressed. Anyway, on to the final Hamburg residency. Yeah, I think so too. What do you mean? Oh, yeah. The Beatles' final trip to Hamburg was from the 18th of December to the 31st of December 1962, in which Brian Epstein and Paul McCartney persuaded the whole group somehow that this was a good look. It obviously, however, is not. This was their first trip to Hamburg with Richard Starkey, aka 47, Ringo Starr. The most notable point of this trip is it's the only one recorded. Find that on YouTube. I might even link it in the description. And also, on Christmas Day, 1962, one in Hamburg, the Beatles often went to a sort of hut where English ex-army, like Navy people lived. They went here for cheap food. And on Christmas Day, they had some lovely soup, for starters, followed by a lovely steak dinner. Very nice steak, said George. What's in the steak meat? Said Paul. It's horse meat. So they had a horse for Christmas dinner. Very fitting end to the Hamburg story, I think. And on the final day of 1962, they left Hamburg forever. Well, at least they came back for one date on a tour in like 1966. But they left Hamburg forever. And they went on to be famous in England, America, even behind their rustic roots and wearing stupid clothes like this, really. What are you going to do about it? So I'll do about it. Yeah.